Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening, people, wherever you are elsewhere. So the subject of the teaching today is Lojong, Will of Sharp Weapon, continues from last week. So we're here, verse 6 today. Verse 6, yes. I will go to the commentary by Geshe Ngawang Darje, also the root text. Okay, here. So Tarinda, Samande Lenji Pevala, Tujichi Shuguyo, Teshidili Shuguyo, Puripundanam. Thank you, my Tibetan brothers and sisters, coming to the teaching. So we go to the verse 6. First, I will read the root text. Okay, and thus bodhisattva are likened to peacocks. They live on delusions, those poisonous plants, transforming them into the essence of practice. They thrive in the jungle of everyday life. Whatever is presented, they always accept, while destroying the poison of clinging and desire. So this is a beautiful teaching and very profound and very beneficial and very effective. Theater simba majata yi tu ki nang tu drive nyumunam kyudu jurla korvenas juk tangdo langla tugde. So, thus, the bodhisattva is like the peacock. So this is an interesting example, right? Dharmarakshita gave this example. So the bodhisattva, true bodhisattva, lives on delusions, those poisonous plants. What it means, the bodhisattva himself or herself not necessarily have any delusions, and but the bodhisattva lives with so many people, sentient beings whose mind is totally occupied or by the delusions. The mind is tormented by the delusions, such as attachment, anger, and ignorance, and fear, and so forth. And their life is forced by the defilements, and a lot of times they don't even see the difference between their normal day-to-day mind and the delusions, and because they don't have their lack of wisdom, and so sentient beings, due to this, sentient beings are suffering, always being suffering, not just short time, not only one time or two times. They've been suffering from beginning this life, still suffering, and it will continuously suffer. And so the bodhisattva took vow not to abandon sentient beings. Bodhisattvas took the vow, says, though the sentient beings are numberless, I vow to save them, right? So the bodhisattva remain in the samsara, work for the sentient beings, work with sentient beings with a lot of patience, perseverance, and enthusiasm. And even though the bodhisattva gets tired and sick and stressed out and burned out and feel sometimes overwhelmed by all the problems, but never give up. So the bodhisattva use all these sufferings as a lojong. Lojong means thought transformation, right? The adverse conditions into the path of enlightenment. Bodhisattva does that and gives a great show great example for sentient beings how to live and how to practice samsara dharma in pure dharma in this samsara. And also at the same time, the bodhisattva himself, herself, is also advancing bodhisattva's realizations, and the bodhisattva also get a great benefit from it, have the opportunity to create further more merit and more virtues. So this is the example. The peacock is a good example. The peacock is not necessarily enjoying the taste of the poisonous plants, just like we take herbs and medication. They're not a good taste. Most of the time they taste horrible, right? You just go global and you just swallow as soon as possible with some water. And the taste, if you keep them longer, it's kind of bitter, And so herbs are like that, modern drugs are like that, you see. So the peacock will eat because, as I said before, peacock would like to see himself have beautiful feathers. And so usually, as you know, I'm not an ornithologist, and some of you might be, and well, it doesn't have to be ornithologist or ornithologist, most male birds have colors, and female birds don't have much color. Some reason, I don't know what the reason is. You get to go to the mallets and ducks. And one time I used to be bird watcher. I was a birder, and I was a bit fanatic about watching the birds. I used to read Audubon's Society books and Peter Roger Torres's books, Birds of the West of the Rockies and Birds of the East of the Rocky Mountains, and so on and so forth. So I know a little bit about the birds and migration and so on. So at the moment, a lot of birds are unfortunately dying because of all the smoke in BC, Oregon, Washington State, California, and this is the migration time. They found so many birds are dead in Arizona, New Mexico, and so on and so forth. Unfortunate. So many birds are dying because they confused their migration routes. Anyway, so birds are suffer, and peacock is not necessarily enjoying the poison, but he's need these colorful feathers, and for mating seasons or whatever, and just show his own beautiful feathers. Enjoy, and also it gives kind of pleasure for us because we love watching peacocks, and we use peacock feathers and for offerings. And peacock is the national bird of India, and in Tibetan we call it mabja or maja, and beautiful. I say a few words in Tibetan. 대체 심바 장주 심바데네 마제나 예레스 카네세나 마제게 두세네니 코랑고 도디 야우시 차게 요와 도든 주인인지 차게 요레 이나이데 두데 세네 심부제다 유지 마레다데 지 코라 사우로 대간조 메세베가라 지자면다 바멘도서 예미멘도도 사베가라 심부세 게면도 심지 파셔나 칼레베 칼티자네 람상 추동의 주민자야마도 카나를 실어주는 거냐는 심부지다 인도 가운데 게임도 좋아스 게임도 어딘데 이나다 맞죠 거라 핑거요래 근데 나신이 전에는 장주 선박에 되니 거연나는도 거의 장주 친구들 쇼네 semjen 탐지기 팬백 자와나 저송 네베 가르쳐왔다 진소 바로 뒤침배 두기 냠래나 되니 점바당 수tumsum 저바금 존두 좀 능인증금 시럽 곰 되는나다 semje되는 거에 동의 점들이야 내내 두신다 로 몽볼라 로 말이 그럼 진짜 어머는 거 유와 어디 되니 유에는 되니다 가셔때 자로다 두긴 나온데 뭐는 Jude Jolas, that Numu to Sunday, Jude Joe said, Lojong and Yamle, Numu to Sujava, the telegom Junani, and Numu to Sunday Pa Julni. Numu the Jene, Jeva Gablatini, Della Gomja, Gomjan, Numu Della Tajena, Tajene, Numu the Jiva tell us about Sutans of the Jene, Changes of Korange, Toba the Agar Pendo, Sunday Yandalatine. Ariota pe mese pewa pe tu chine gomja de nyamne til pe la tu chine pen chumbu yungore ju de yo lan ko na dux ta kha shimbuji sa chimbuji sa na ju yoro khala ju yung de sana zubula pingro te na ji ane jiso paro chimbo gomna de 다 추기 냠내는 팽고요 다바 토고요 산지 고마 토야라 다 여르요 로로 어떤 이제 주도 요런 코벤나선도 남도 당도랑라 동도 좀 아, 당도랑 배 당랑전 주도 두전에 거의 동아도 졸라배 가셔다 당도랑 되네 강내 주네 같이 매봐 어두신 되는 거 열어서 so this is very helpful when I say in Tibetan. Actually, you're wondering why I'm saying in Tibetan so long. But actually, I'm not saying so long. Sometimes it must be hard for you listening in Tibetan. You don't know what I'm saying. But at the same time, this is a lojong for you as well. And we have to share the teaching with Tibetans and people who speak Tibetan, like the Mongolians and Ladakhis and Bhutanese and other people who speak Tibetan, use Tibetan text. So it is useful because Bodhisattva never complains. Okay, Tanglang, Tibetan Tanglang means voluntarily accept, the peacock voluntarily accept poison. Likewise, the Bodhisattva voluntarily accept the suffering of sentient beings. Bodhisattva never complains, even once. And Bodhisattva never does what you call whining. I'm not happy, I'm this, I'm that, I'm suffering, never do whining, never complains, and joyfully take the sufferings of others and use them as a path of enlightenment. The suffering of the sentient beings as a cause and condition for Dharma practice for himself and himself, as well as for others, as an example. So never give up. So we have many stories that Bodhisattva never give up. For instance, you know the story of Tara and Chenrezig, the relationship Tara and Chenrezig. And so Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara took a vow, right? And then he was working tirelessly for all sentient beings and trying to liberate all sentient beings. One point he was so overwhelmed, and he almost sort of felt like I should just give up, but he sort of, wow, I can't do it anymore. So, and then he cried. Bodhisattva cried and cried, Chenrezig, right? Cried from his 1,000 eyes, and tears come down, and it turned into a little pond. And in this pond, the lotus flower popped up, shot up. And on top of the lotus flower, Bodhisattva, great Mother Tara appeared. Tara said to Avalokiteshvara, don't cry now. And you're a bodhisattva. Do not give up your vows. Do not feel weakened by the misery and suffering of sentient beings. You should continue your practice, resume your practice. I will help you. I am a most powerful, enlightened lady. I'm a Tara. My name is Tara, means liberator. So I encourage you continue. So then Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara said, okay, yes, oh good, noble daughter of family, I will do what you said. You are such a wonderful, inspirational. So they made sort of a, not agreement, but they're like a great, in a sort of worldly sense, they're a great team, right? I say a few words in Tibetan. Janjusama Dombajin bit Karshote, Bangi Omare, Kangi Kasi Ten and Shagi Omare. Tinpenate, Luji Ninju Shujari, Jerezi. Now to Jerezi Latine, Chaton Jendo Yorwa, Jerezi, Chaton Jendo, Jerezi, Jujisha, Jerezi, Chashiva, Jerezi Mongoya, Jerezi, Jawa Janso, Jenny, Tenita, Simja Tamji, Chawana, and Church on the Bay, College and Long or the College, Kunjan, Major Tenita, the Kashota, Kunyin, Tane, Simjing Jawa Chevin, Long Mumble Chevin, Lord Tunda Mumble Chevin, Simjin to the Mugova, and Marabos, Control Savo, Doja Chimbo, Tumu Chimbo, Teneve, Takari Shore, Takaleka Shuji Reja Tanga. 자 용사 말에 sem에 두 스테지 두 밤에 주도 얘네 두밤 단도 밤 얘네 버루지를 흉내네 차동요 젠동요로 젠동이나 미치밤 진첩신 당한테 보길래 진첩스러워 미치셔야 돼 밖에로 진첩때 뭐뭐 좀 아버는 진첩되니 누나 가서 추기 되니 증부지를 저를 다 추기 증부지게 되니 나라 메로베 마치 통 이가 안 되더니 지존도 뭐 톱자고 저더니 가서다 랑중세로 야도 지존도 뭐 대표 지존도 매게 제레즈를 다 되셔 ngaso 제나면도 다지 semso 당가 보게는 니 파게는 semso 당 다지 운중승인데 다른 식만 거요 ngaso 다 차랑 되네 많아 차랑 잔주스 말에 차랑 선지래 아니 제동요래 차동요래 되네 단다보들 되네 sem지 뭐 가세지네 배 콜을 도니 타버터베 람도나래 다 다른데 투교원한테 배지 잔주스 배 야도 난데 투섬제는 망고스 고지오 말레스 나 예준 도마에 네밍을 돌마스 이거라 콜을 두다레 마투다레 콜을 돌 다레 마스로 당 콜을 둥이 심진 콜을 둥이 나이스 근데 인자네 천안다 너니 냠도 같은데 가서다 상 심진 담지 상제외더니 가서다 탑시세는 탑시고마다 최소한들 제스 ahora tu tiene bene two mushrooms ene semju je as te semsu ta package na semsu ta te jene jene o tu ji che tu ji lexo rich bomo as lexo sida da lawless siguro lawless dine lexo ta charang so ta gara re munye das charang be kanuma ji jundu maro charang karso ta ga ta ga nge chigi ins ma dine beta semju pesos o tu chevre dine chanchu semde yari chin yaji chimaro dine nanda domain lujina le yore nanda tarana ta gi song domain dine dewa dang ane jawa gendin tu ge song domain su ji dewa yore ene nge inji tole juyi demte tara in the palm of your hand singe debjo so the amazon.com na le yore dine sina dine ma luchore so this story of Tara is written by a famous Tibetan Buddhist master, Taranatha, Jonang Taranatha. And first Dalai Lama, Gindin Trup, wrote a beautiful commentary of 21 Taras. I have translated into English and produced a book some years ago. My book is called Tara in the Palm of Your Hand. And you can order from amazon.com. You go there, right there. There's other books on Tara, Lama Zopa's book, and so on and so forth. And you'll see the story of Tara, beautiful. And so, Bodhisattva never give up. Okay, so I will read a little bit of commentary of Geshe Ngawamdarji here. It's very beautiful commentary. The great Bodhisattva are like the peacock because they prefer to live among the most rampant delusions and to transform them into the condition beneficial to being. As an example of our own situation, if we have a beautiful house to live in and we have attachment to it, we should think in the following way. Until today, completely influenced by such vulgar thoughts as attachment, I have been wandering in cyclic existence. From now on, I should use this home only as a tool to help me to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all beings. I should think Similarly, about food, that it is to be eaten to benefit others. So whatever we have here, Geshe Ngawangda, just commentary is beautiful. Whatever you have, you use for the tool for enlightenment. Your clothing, your food, if you have accommodation, if you earn a renting house or you earn a house, whatever you have, you say, okay, this house is for my place I live, just for now. And I don't think about perfect house, perfect food, perfect clothing. What is perfect? You don't know what perfect is, right? There is no such thing perfect in the world. So you say, I use this shelter house where I sit and meditate and trying to do retreats and enlightenment for all sentient beings. As long as the house is not leaking, as long as the house is not collapsing, and that's fine. And if you're being so neurotic about the house, and oh, I want perfect house, I can't find perfect house. This house has problem with the mouse. This house has a problem with the ants, so on, and then you have to move and then move again and again, and then you buy another house, keep losing money, and the more you do this, you pay more tax, and just wasting time, and then you don't have the opportunity to practice Dharma. Just practice patience, stay in this dwelling. Okay, I'm not saying you don't need to, you shouldn't practice hygiene. Of course, you need hygiene, but you have to be patient. So anyway, basically what Geshe Ngawangda is saying, you should just, whatever you have, use as a way and path of enlightenment. Lojong, Peacock may be likened to Bodhisattva in a number of ways, just as peacock look beautiful to the eye. So Bodhisattva appeal to the mind of living beings. The Bodhisattva is very beautiful. The Bodhisattva doesn't have colors, doesn't have feathers like peacocks. And but the Bodhisattva is beautiful because the Bodhisattva's mind is bodhicitta, enlightened mind. There was a very wonderful great Lama called Kunu Lama Rinpoche. He lived in Bodh Gaya, lived in Varanasi with the Hindu sadhus, and he was a great teacher for many High Lamas back in the 60s and 70s when I was in India growing up. Kunu Lama Rinpoche considered, he was from Kunu, from Himalayas, place called Kalpa in Kinnaur. And Kunu, he was a great poet, great writer, and he was one of the teachers of Jabje Rinpoche. And he studied poetry, Tibetan poetry from Kunu Lama Rinpoche. Anyway, he wrote a book called Praise to Bodhicitta. That's beautiful text, amazing text. And then I forget to Kunu Lama Rinpoche Lama Jiyore Hima, Jagala Shiore, Inji Tungsa the Kunu the Kuluni Ma Shaju, Shimla the Kuluni Poru, Kunu Lumbadoa, Kunu the Kalpas, Kinor Sing, and the Berg Santam, Kunzo Porire, Kin, Lada Ken the Weir. Kunu Lama Rinpoche, Chanjus and Tobas and Pages, Samna, Toba de Poketo Yortananga, Ragre, Inchitola Jutsasha. Famous Yahweh repeated, Dina Chanjusing Toba, Chanjusing Toba, Chanjusing Tananzi, Chanjusing Niananzi, Chanjusing Tunanzi, Chanjusing Nunanzi. He says, by the mind of bodhicitta, when you look, you see everything's beautiful. By the mind of bodhicitta, when you listen, everything changes. The sound is beautiful. You don't hear unpleasant sound. By the bodhicitta, if you eat food, taste changes. By the bodhicitta, if you smell something, smells different. And whatever you do, your perception changes because everything is our mind, right? And Tibetan word is like this, Chanchu Simcha Tanan Zi. And when you look by bodhicitta motivation, Zibo means beautiful. Okay, so that's why Geshe Ngawangda is saying, peacock eat poison, yet inflict no harm on others. Just as Bodhisattva persist in working with samsaric conditions solely to benefit others. The peacock crest has 5 parts, just as the Bodhisattva path has also 5 parts. So Bodhisattva's 5 paths, bhumis, we call 5 bhumis, right? In Tibetan, with Choglam, Yolam, Tunglam, Gomlam, Milhoblam, and the Bodhisattva path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of meditation, Choglam, Yolam, Tunglam, path of insight, path of meditation, path of no more meditation. Then you got getting close to enlightenment. Tibetan with Solam, Yolam, Tunglam, Gomlam, Milhoblam. Those are the 5 parts of the Bodhisattva, Bhumi stages of Bodhisattva. And you go step by step, then you become a Bodhisattva, enlightened. When Atisha came to, so this is, the peacock has 5 different parts of the feathers. So what it means, like, there's a different kind of feather, has different kind of I'm not sure exactly the English term is, different kind of texture, different colors, different patterns. And if you look closely, some parts are green, some parts are yellow, some parts are bluish and kind of like almost like rainbow colors and so on. But this is the common peacock. There are some peacocks that are white. I also found out there is a pink peacock somewhere in the world. And anyway, so the Bodhisattva's 5 paths. The 5 paths are beautiful paths. And I won't go into details, because if you want to study the Bodhisattva path, you study what we call there's a text called Salam. Salam. Sa is path, Bhumi. Lam is path. Path, Bodhisattva path, Bodhisattva stages. Bhumi means stages. Ta dere poketola. Tada maja de la dene do de la chik dramanda chundo dramanda ta ngombo jangu mawo sebo de dramanda de leji ngayo resungudwa o de do chila den do ga yaboji sebo ina dena yi chanju sembe sa de la dene chanju sembe sa ngayo cholam jolam thonglam golam malola sela do ya do gorwa aya do de ga dene yari do ne do go chiri dene tuni ta wa mosum to dene so then, this is very interesting here. Geshe Nawandaji's commentary. When Atisha came to Tibet in 1042, he brought a particularly unpleasant Indian teacher with him, only in order to further his practice of patience. So, I actually don't know he brought this Indian sadhu with him. There's different stories. So one story I heard that he said and meditated, which is next door to this Indian sadhu, somewhere in Kashmir or somewhere on the way. I don't think I'm not sure he brought it to India, because this bloke, I don't think he wants to come to India. Who wants to come to Tibet, right? Himself already a miserable guy, and then coming to Tibet for what? And Atisha can't force him to come to Tibet. It's a funny story, right? And so Atisha couldn't just say, well, you should come there. I need to practice patience with you. And he was kind of almost like insult, right? And he wouldn't come, but anyway, maybe he did. Maybe he was Atisha's disciple, or maybe he's kind of a bit strange guy, right? Who knows? And so then the story is like this. Later on, he sent the object of this, his patience, back to India. So he said, you go home now. Chalo. And in Hindi they say, chalo, you go home now. And I don't need you. So he probably very happy. Okay, Tibet took hold for me. I'm going home. And then having met the Tibetans, the Indian was no longer needed. So maybe Atisha doesn't need the Indian guy, because Tibetans are even more difficult people. And Tibetans probably better object of patience for Atisha, because the Tibetans are wild people, right? And what I mean say wild means because live in a wild condition, nomadic people. Especially Atisha went from Ladakh, Kugi Kingdom, Ladakh, and cross the border to Mount Kailash, Rohtang, Mount Kailash. This area is very arid land, and no trees, and no fruits, no vegetables. So Atisha was born in Bangladesh, in Bengal, and full of fruits and flowers, trees. Those days is beautiful, yeah. And you can cultivate fruits and vegetables all year round. Now you end up in this kind of arid and desert land, right? So difficult, and people are difficult. People, Tibetans, and so then the main problem is actually Atisha doesn't speak the language, Tibetan language, and cultural issues, and the Tibetans don't understand this Indian Lama, and so fortunately, Dom Tomba was waiting for Atisha, so he was Atisha's disciple. He was the translator. So anyway, the point here, Atisha is saying, I got these Tibetan guys, a good object of patience. I don't need you. You go home. So this guy went home, and so it must be kind of terrifying for Atisha because, and we have saying in Tibet, Tibetan people have red face and they eat lots of meat, and we say Dungmar, which is face, red face, Shaza, which means meat eaters, right? Because that's all we eat, I mean, summertime we eat, a lot of other stuff, zamba and barley flowers and weed, and we're not just meat eaters. It depends on what part of Tibet you are, If you're in the eastern Tibet, lower lands, you get vegetables too. You get turnips and potatoes and corns and so on and so on. And there's a different climate zones. But the western part of Tibet, very arid. So people eat mostly meat and dairy. And so it was probably shocking for Atisha, right? And the main issue was, story is why Atisha was invited to Tibet by the king, Changchu Wuk and Yishi Wuk. These two, the king of the Guge kingdom. Because in Tibet, after the Lang Dharma's persecution, Tibet evil king called Lang Dharma's persecution of Buddhism, and he was a born king. He wiped out Buddhism in Tibet for 70 years. Now Buddhism starting, and we call Sarma. So then it's a turbulent time because there was lots of confusion about Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And then people didn't know what to practice, and people practice Tantra before practice sutras and so on. This is why a Tibetan king of Guge invited Atisha. And so then Atisha felt very difficult. But then Atisha was a very powerful teacher. He taught Dharma, and Domtomba worked very hard, and then starting new lineage called Kadamba lineage. And there was a wonderful thing happened in the history of Tibetan Buddhism, and it was great. We're very fortunate. Now we have the Lamrim that comes from the Kadamba tradition, right? I'd like to say a few words in Tibetan. Atisha dini that jagani pa ya ladani juni ngari la pe ngari kugi lumbarawa dini kugi hala ma chanju de ishi with the issue and the issue ne da ruto choi course on the bagela de sira to ngari corsum says to de la ruto choi cor kugi ya cor purang gang corsum set that some baba lo chong should in Tibet, we have saying western part of Tibet is the beautiful. It's surrounded by three things. One place called Ruto, Choiko. Ruto is surrounded by lakes, beautiful lakes everywhere. Kugi Yaiko. Kugi is surrounded by rocky mountains, a mountain with the slates. Mountain has all kinds of beautiful formations. Another region is like different province, right? Rutok and Kuge. Purang Gangikor. Purang, there's one province, it's called Purang. Purang is surrounded by beautiful snow mountains. And it's starting from Mount Everest, then go over to the west. And there's lots of mountains, so many mountains, beautiful area. So we call it Ngari Korsum. Para Uzang Rushi, Me Doham Gang Troop, or that they Namutaka, some of me, to the command or to the so Atisha didn't Atisha didn't Java Sadu Jinam the Paris. This Sadu de Pigo Junjan Karishana, Sadu de Jobang Mujisarawa, and Atisha ko Gomjasal, ne the Gomjasa, you the Cochigis, Koyon, the Kojabang Emma, ne Gomjan, Zobogom, Zoba, the Yawu you do so. They Koyores, Koyon, the Nikin, Pearl Powder, and touch of Goemendus, Charma Lotions, Jal, Magoemendus. Nogo Junjan Karishanta, Papa to the young, Papa Nalajabang within your water, your water. The machine at Purple, Papa, the Jabang Emma imitate Mari, the Yomarotini, Kanga Jobang Marwa, and Kaisanta, Adisha Jahan, Pendore, Namtang More, Shalat, and it said Chumati Shindos, Choya Yomare, meet the Maji, Shase, Shomari, Tun Madishi, Saitun El Shidara, Yomaro, Kuni Chungo Tambo, Kuni Shibuchonsha, Tini and Dom Domba, Ranin Dosho, Stamina. Jetan la pe la se yo pe teni meto yo ri shindo kambuta teni yo da pendro se teni jene chadi cheveres teni ke jamong adisha namda na yo re otu jene ata luji tini jo do teni re neta me mangbu shu me ya kora ko mandu dusre. So now having met the Tibet, the Indians were no longer needed. We too should willingly embrace suffering and delusion as just as did Atisha. Having subdued them, we should finally eliminate them. So Atisha had a really hard time when he first lived in Rutok area. And then the king of Rutok didn't want him to leave. And you stay here, I invited you, please teach, right? So one night Atisha thought he told Dom Dumba, we should just escape now, run away. And Dom Dumba said, let's go to Lhasa area because there's apricot trees and there's walnut trees and there are vegetables and you can even find flowers and a little bit like India and the valleys with many willow trees. Let's go. So they were preparing to escape, but they couldn't go. But eventually, the king realized he is causing problem for his guru. He shouldn't do that. So he said, please go now. If you wish to go to the center of Tibet, and there is a mild climate, and there's the fruits, and walnuts, and apricots, and so on, please go. So Atisha moved to a place called Sitang, and in west of Lhasa, and beautiful area. He settled there, and then moved over to Reading, built a Reading monastery, and so forth. So this is the history. I like history. I know lots of histories. Around the world, I study history myself, self-taught. And so with these first 6 verses, the general survey of the path and stages is concluded. Following is the general explanation. So up to here, verse 1 to verse 6, is the general explanation on the Lojong. Then the rest is the wheel of sharp weapon starts. So far, it's just the general explanation. 다 단대봐도 저로가 당번이버 숨을 지방하고 두고 하더라 당번치 가르쳐 올 때 지시 서로 찌기 시아바들이 지당 로중 저저 콜로 찌기 당 monro로 보지와 다더니 저로가 dumba 지방을 망한 것좀 다 So from verse 7, 8, so on, began the actual wheel of sharp weapon, Lojong, begin. So we go back to verse 7, root text. Uncontrollable wandering through round of existence is caused by our grasping at our egos as a real. This ignorant attitude heralds the demon of selfish concern for our welfare alone. We seek one security for our own egos. We seek some security for our own egos. We want only pleasure and shun any pain, but now we must banish all selfish compulsions and gladly take hardship for all others' sake. Adere sholka dumbatere tani rawa mebang kola is da dun zamba duji ponyandi around jindu tedang par tala yendu gaji dang lawar chas modeta dani rawa mebang ko ta nganzo tanda badula ko thoma mebane dini rawa mebang ko la korni dus devares de ko junjina karesena dini da dun zamba danzi mari betini wang du jen korre ko ge jude danzi mari baris 이 단지 말이 만지 뒤지 포냐스도 뒤지 포냐스인데 뒤게 있더니 포냐스에 있다 도게돌 파양 세우셔비나 포냐스에 되게 방친서 방친 나 방친생 그래서 그래서는 방친스에 이게 아마 쟁이다 렌징이도나 남중에서 방친스로 와 깨져야 아마 직쟁이 돼 욕보선이 지래. So the Tibetan word here said duji ponya. Du means demon. Ponya is a messenger and also like a mailman or a postman or whatever, some guy running around doing some kind of work and service, like a plumber or whatever, right? And I shouldn't say a plumber or this mailman. I should be correct, politically correct. Don't want to insult anybody. I'm just saying example. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And but it's what is bad is our own ego, right? Ego is doing this to ourselves. Randu jindu tena partalas. That's so the jiboda ji rang si randu shata chen mila keja kasa amjo mani chi mila ya kusha maji so randu shata che so jibu yinga ta jibara che ene yende kaji dang de languages ta randu jindu tena partalas ta digi randu jindu ko samle pa sha di samle pa pong ene yende kaji dang ta yen ke tunu te kale je ta kawa che ko resung ba odo se ya ko senso so this is the nature of samsara, uncontrollable wanting through the round of existence. So we have been in this samsara, in this world of rebirth, cyclic existence. How many times? You don't know. You could ask soothsayer, he wouldn't know. You could ask clairvoyant, he wouldn't know. Even if you ask some enlightened person, will you please tell me how many times I've been reborn in samsara? He won't tell you. Can't tell you. Even enlightened person. Because there is no beginning. There's no beginning, so how can you tell beginning? Since there is no beginning, and we're not some kind of enlightened person and then fall down like falling angel. And it's just no beginning. So we travel around in samsara, wandering around and endlessly. And it is caused by our own grasping at ego as real. So what is the cause of this? What is the cause of wandering around in samsara? The real cause, the true cause is our own ego. I, self-grasping. Thinking I is real, self is real, and the self is inherently existent self. I is existent self, inherently existent self. And then grasping, and then create all the defilements, and then create all kinds of karmas. And then you keep going, creating karma, cause of rebirth in samsara. And so, no end. We go round and round like a ship floating around in the ocean, going around. No, never end, right? Because of our ego. And this ignorant attitude heals the demon of selfish concern for our own welfare. So this ego is we call demon and selfish mind. We seek some security for our own egos. We want only pleasure, shun only pain, but now we must banish. So the point here is everything comes from the ego and selfish mind. So that when we practice Lojong, we have to practice selflessness, meditate on it. What is ego? Try to understand the ego, trying to understand self-grasping. Then trying to practice some opponent power for self-centered mind. Trying to banish all selfish compulsions and gladly take hardship for all others' sake. So voluntarily and gladly take hardship to abandon one's own self-cherishing, self-centered mind and cherish others instead of myself all the time. That's it. Sholga dumba 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 o da tani raome bon ko ya tan yendo da tan di shu cha so da ne raome o da raome bon ko la ko je ko de ro tin ko ge ko jin jin de danzi mari be chevares ra din ngara jin de da ga wo yo tin di chi bo yo so ran jin jin yo de ko re tin de je da ne so de ran jin jin de pa pang any yin jin jin je yin de la de ne ka chen to chevares. So in Tibetan word here says hardship is called kawache. Okay, so elderly people will say, well, I do what I do. I have to do what I have to do. I'll do hardship, go through hardship for my own benefit. Why not? And why should I care? Why should I go through hardship for others? Who cares? I do it for myself. If I have to do it, it's worth it. I will go through hardship. Most hardworking people and wealthy people, rich people, they work very hard for themselves. That's why they become wealthy. They become famous. And why not do that? Yeah, in a worldly sense, in some ways, on samsaric point of view, that's all right. Okay, if you are talking about samsaric worldly person talking to another worldly person. But a spiritual person, don't talk like that. And instead of saying, I do it for myself, I should do what I want to do. Instead of saying, I want to do something for others, I've done enough to myself. And now I see there is no really end. And I don't see point. And what is point doing so much for myself? Accumulating so many wealth, this and that, power and name and this and that. What for? And I should do something for others. It's more meaningful, spiritual. Otherwise, it's not a spiritual. I want to become spiritual, right? So spiritual, in English word spiritual, for me, spiritual doesn't mean being religious. Spiritual means you do something wholesome, something beneficial for the humanity, the world, for all sentient beings. Spiritual. I see there's a difference between spiritual and religious. You could be spiritual, but not necessarily religious. You could be a religious person, not necessarily spiritual. A lot of people, religious people, they're not very spiritual. They do lots of politics, use the Dharma as a politic, mixing with Dharma and politics, religion and politics. I call Dharma politics, which is kind of even a worse kind of politics because it harms the Dharma. And if you're just doing politics, that's just politics, worldly person, right? If a spiritual person doing politics, it's like wolf wearing sheepskin. And so it's very harmful for the Dharma. So spiritual person shouldn't do this, can't do that. And anyway, so that indeed, the Mambu Shumen, that Sholoka Dumba, the Shutaswa, that Jabadere. So I will go to the commentary of Geshe Ngao verse 7. The Geshe Ngao commentary is just always beautiful. I know Geshe-la. Roaming uncontrollably in the round of existence with no freedom of birth, we are thrown here and there and into some suffering. So due to our karma, we came to this world, and then we go from here another life, what we call according to Lamrim, is called throwing karma. Okay, throwing karma means, say if I'm throwing a rock, right? So I throw the rock from here to over there, or the rock just throw, and if it doesn't hit somebody, then it's all right. And so it's like our previous karma is throw me, my mind, my life into this world. That's called throwing karma. Here and there, we must subjugate this self-cherishing attitude, which is essential in order to achieve the three paths. Selfish and self-grasping are the attendant and the leader of our problems. So self-grasping is the internal dictator, while self-cherishing is the external attendant. So we have two things, self-grasping and self-cherishing. Self-grasping is the leader or dictator, and self-cherishing is the attendant. So running around, so they kind of work together. This is our problems. And in this context, self-cherishing herald the demon of self-grasping. We should make a strong determination not to be influenced by these two. That forget all the shit. Dangzin dang rangjin zin niyo zimba niyo ro. Dangzin si ji dangzin mariba ti. Rangjin zin ji niyo. That they gishing out the sona den zhe sha. Dangzin de zo di le. Digi yobo san de dangzin de ji bombo san de che. And the rangjin zin de yobo san de che. Then yobo da bombo nyam do le ga che. Yobo bombo du ja ji na yobo du ja ji da nyam do le ga che. Then nyora mo so ro o den na yin che ne. And that so stambo dangzin yoyo dangzin man be yoro. Digi shu je ne rangjin zin de yo. Mal go yo nga chi nga ni sin de che. Then leng ba sa digwa sa de chi gore. O tu chi gore. Then yin zani tinin yiga de be mangore sungo. So this is a two. So I think I don't need to explain that because Geshe-la's commentary is very clear. Then we go to the verse 8 here now. Leje deda nyumun komba isa. Ringtun jigu nam ju donga nam. Ringtun jigu nam ju donga. Jindu dagi. Dingdu pungwa cha. Okay. So this comes now, talks about karma. Okay, so verse 8 here. All our suffering derive from our habits of selfish delusions. We heed and act out. As all of us share in this tragic misfortune, which stems from our narrow and self-centered way. We must take all our suffering and miseries of others and smother our wishes of selfish concerns. Legend deda nyumun kombai. And this is all our suffering derived from our habits. So the word here is the word habit, actually talking about karma. Okay, karma. And, due to our karma, then we acting. And so I will read the Geshe-la's commentary. We have been chased by karma since the beginningless time. Leji and Deshin Yumu Kometa Legi Wangchi, Legi Wangchi Tambo Leji, Legi Leti Telende, Namlindo, the Chevala, Mi Chevala, Tundu Chevala, Karina Chevala. Then Leji Wang Legend, Yumu Kometa, Yumu, Yoyoro, and Telecomne, Yumu the Shuchi Comne, and Yumu Korashuki, Yungota, Comne, some of them Mogaji. Miss Cancer, Digosile General, some of you more. Then I'm Stabia Yungo. So it's like we are saying, if you want to create bad karma, unwholesome karma, you don't have to think about it. You do it automatically. And because your habit. If you want to create some merit and virtue, good karma, it doesn't happen so easily because you have to think, you have to practice patience, perseverance, and hard work. Creating negative karma is easy. We are saying it's like creating negative karma is going down the hill, walking down the hill. It's a path, very path. You can run down the path, right? Unless you're an old man with a knee problem. You can run, the young guys can run down very fast. When I was a teenage, me and my grandfather, we walked 18 kilometers downhill in Himalayas. No, 18 miles. Of course, next day my legs hurting, and grandpa was fine. His knee was a little hurting, but he was very tough. And going down easy, right? Going uphill is very hard. So creating merit, good karma, is going up the hill, carrying 20 kilos of backpack with a sleeping bag and a tent and food. It's like that. Going down is easy. Like that, the creating karma is easy, negative karma, because of our habit, okay? Habit, like this. And without any freedom, we have been bound to settle existence with it is many obstacles, all because of unbroken familiarity and delusions. We should place the blame for all our suffering upon the selfish thoughts and wanting solely our own happiness and determined to destroy it. So we should destroy our selfish mind and ego and delusions. And otherwise, we creating more karmas and then we suffer more. So the advice here by Dharma Rakshita saying that you should practice, you should think about karma. So then this brings a question about karma, right? Tangi poketo le chikshui dere da shologa derwa or the jeba derwa legend de nyumu komba ista legi le mombo sane ne nyumu komne ta le mombo sane nyumu de rashu wingo tan da ja shara dumo namjinga to komdi garwa ngadu dere nyumu gi geweshi ni chimbara sata. And we're like a geshi of delusions. And we know so much about delusions. And kombe rin tu jeguna donganas. Kindu dag dindu mojita migi ngaranzo migi roa migi donga samadin soso gichi kindu the gandu gitini and kasota ranjinjing gitinrege wangini donga naso vijia pongjine rebo na all this Shindo Bon in the Dagger, two general laying in duty, Karsota sad, very laying in Masago and Dumar, duty sad, Jusago, wrote in this summer. But indeed, in that laying in singing it in Danzi Mariba, the new Chever is Tapati and she can. So then that leg, the leg gets share, and there's a dung leg or chicken on the leg, machine, lel ho mare. So I like to talk a little bit about karma. So in Buddhism, in Hinduism, in Jainism, we talk about karma, right? Karma is now the word karma is a universal word. You see in the newspapers and so on. It's almost a kind of English word. Like you go to the Google and click on karma or Wikipedia, you see right away. And so karma is, Tibetan word is lei, which means a cause and effect. Okay, karma is cause and effect. And karma is very subtle, very profound. At the same time, some karmas are not so difficult to understand, what we call normally instant karma. So instant karma, you create cause and the result comes quickly. So then you can see right there. So not so hard. One of my students, nun, she used to say, if you want to know your karma, you go down the highway, hitchhike. And so then you'll see your karma right away. And well, somebody will pick you up, or maybe nobody wants to pick you up. Depends on the weather too. Anyway, it's your karma, right? That was interesting. I'll tell you a little story. I was in Alaska back in 1981. I have a friend there, a Tibetan friend. He invited me. So we traveled from Anchorage, Alaska to Fairbanks, Alaska, which is a long way, about 4 hours, and further north in North country, land of midnight sun. So we were traveling, and we picked up this hippie boy, hippie guy, long hair hippie guy, and we picked him up and we kept going. And I wasn't wearing a Lama robe, and so he doesn't know I'm a Lama or Tibetan, and we never talked about Buddhism. And so then when he got up from the highway where he wanted to go, and then he said, "Thank you very much. Good karma for you." Wow. How does this boy know karma? Back in 1981, in the middle of Alaska, and the blonde hippie boy says, "Good karma for you." And then he said, "You're my man." Okay. And that was kind of neat, you know. I thought that was really sweet. And I thought, that's good. Yeah, we're creating some good karma here. And thank you very much. So, that's the lesson. So, karma is cause and effect. Some people misunderstood. Some people think karma is like some kind of punishment. Karma is not a punishment. Some people think karma is some kind of blame. Karma is not a blame. Some people think karma is fate. Karma is not a fate. Okay, I will say now why karma is not a punishment. Well, karma, there's many different kinds of karma. Virtuous karma, non-virtuous karma, and who's punishing? Nobody's punishing. Or if there's a punishment, you're punishing yourself. Nobody's punishing you. It's because whatever I do is come back to me. It's like a boomerang, like a wheel of a sharp weapon. Karma is not a blame because, well, you can blame if you want to, and you can blame your own karma, but karma itself is not a blame. That's just the way it is, cause and effect. And karma is not fate, because usually fate means something you cannot change, right? That's the way it is. But karma, you can change. You can change negative karma into positive. You can purify negative karma. And then you can create merit, virtues, good karma. Anytime, whenever. So it's not a fate. You can change all your negative karma, purify all your karma, do by virtuous act, virtuous practice, meditation, purification, Vajrasattva practice, and so forth. Tangi poketo chikhui, chijetu soi legs kijati abuji nguchu mudwa. And the le se the kashi sentati cheba cheveres. So chik chene till cheba chigers. Cheba se marawa, cheba chesidi pombogi da chik puluse so that the trimgun zugi min cheba chigot. So lega cheshawa. So maji kanju monju chewe, so dealing in Bindul, Mingor, the Cheba Marwa, Cheba Yomanes. Kashi is in laying in the jig, 2 javes on the chick. The blame said 2 javes on the jaw, 2 javes on the jig. Michelagic social 2 javes on it. Social 2 javes, social around the 2 javes on the Nicheraves, the Nemares, 2 mare. Meeting social, Casa, near Kuja, Jig, Notice, and the Nicherav, so. So, le Giava and Miguel Carina. So, Ta Sumba de Terry, Cashis and lessing it delatini, Chick so Zoya me, Joya Manga Chick, led the Chumsa Tassan and Juni, Jujuta Juni Manga, led Pena, Miguel Lessa in the Tini. They would the top of Rishi Tini and Dongaji knew a touch of reverse. Tinde Mare, touch of Mare, Kaisana. Tiba Karisari Savina, Ti Karishoti, Sajangche, so that Yang Sang Yang set in the youngs the Sangma Suni, Tulo le Masuna Chultu, Sajang Sawa, they divorce Sawa, they were Jangi, Mebas, Sangma Su, or Tulo Chultu Nashiche, Tulo the Chultu at the sound day, then the workers of the easy, the Raman Shukchimut in the Modo, or Tindi Jabje, Sangma Cow rain, a cow Kajan Sotu, and bleach, Kawajuedo, Sangma Chitu, not in it. Then the Juju never married. Then you get a faith pseudo. So it's like, you use strong solution like a bleach and you can wash and then turn it into, say, some rag, use bleach, everything, all the stains are gone. Like that, karma, you can purify karma. Even extreme karmas, you can be purified. What are the extreme karmas? There are actually 5 extreme karmas, like murdering one's own mother and father, and bloodshed the Tathagata, Buddhas, or murdering arahats, sharvakas, parchekas, and so these 5 extreme karmas can be also purified. That they under Taming of Lesigara, Paseva, Maseva, Dajambas, Tunga. Miranda Jumada, then into the Jumad. And the Hinji call a tangimus that Dajatom Shajivala, do letting Dojo Jabjen, Shabla Master Tatamaro, Tindi get something on the Savina, Taya Mema Taya Yore. And because of Tashaja, I would share it all. I would have not been a would share in Chajin, Taya, legend Taya Meva Mare, what did it. So, okay, so now we go to verse 9. That Kade Rang Toa Shubetse, Dola Rangi Diki, Dola Jin, Chetar Dala Korja Lodu se, Rangi Yingwe Lenshi, Yingsim Rang. Verse 9. Should the impulse arise now to seek our own pleasure, we must turn it aside to please others instead. For even if loved one should rise up against us, we must blame our self-interest and feel it's our due. Okay, so around Chuashi would say, so the impulse, right, arise, seek on for sake of my own pleasure, my own benefit, whatever. And when it arises, you should look at the impulse, meditate on your delusions, whatever. We must turn it aside to please others instead. So whatever arises, you look at and instead of thinking about myself, my own benefit and my own enjoyment, whatever, and think about the benefit of others. But even if loved one should rise up against us. And so sometimes difficult because people turn against me. Even someone that I love and I have expectations and I have done lots of things, and then he or she turn against me, and this is very hard to do, hard to kind of accept, right? And so here I will read the commentary. Whenever selfish concern interests the mind, we should aware of it and disregarding it, banish it. So whenever selfish mind, self-centered mind arise, you have to meditate on it. The problem is we don't know when the selfish mind is arising. This is the difficult thing. It's very subtle. It sort of creeps in you, self-centered mind. Because we've been this way so many times, so many years, so many lifetimes, right? It comes up even in my dreams. So this is why you have to meditate on your mind. This is why Mahamudra meditation is very powerful, beneficial. You look at the nature of your mind. look at the delusions when it arise. And the true nature of the mind is pure. But delusions arise like temporarily. It's like a cloud, the mist and fog coming through the forest. Like the smoke, we had this big smoke here. Today is very fortunate. We don't have smoke now. The smokes are gone almost. And we had some rain and big relief. So the smoke comes, mist, fog arise like this, right? It's, so in averting selfish thoughts as it arises, we should dedicate all our good qualities to the benefit of all beings. For example, if we receive nothing but harm from others whom we have benefited, we should remain unmoved. So especially when someone you care and you love, you've done a lot of things and turn against you, then you don't get disappointed right away. Don't get mad and say, well, I've done so much. Now look at what he does to me. Just stay calm, stay cool. All right? Well, samsara, again, that's the way it is, delusions. Now we're all victim of delusions. He's now suffering by his delusions and causing problem for himself, creating bad karma and causing problem for me too. Very ungrateful and too bad. And you just stay calm and practice some patience. Instead of being harmful in return, we should think it as the fruit of our principal destruction, which is the self-cherishing thought. We should hate this attitude, not other beings. So that I say some words in a little bit in Tibetan. That kade rangde choshi which is that so rangde gitene kasota shimde yalo rangde the gande chinde lo de use kale yungurwa that the kill le lawo yomare hakoya de kali yungudu ngema ne ganzu de shibi cheberwa dollar rangi deji dollar that in the day so around the Jindu Shata Sama Mataje, so the mission dollar piani. That's some of the Chitangores. Dollar rangi dijin dollar jeans and piani jimata, chugi jimata. Deta Chitan Dala Koji Lodu rangi inwe leshi. In sim dance. That Cheda Rala. Cheda Dala Koji Lodu say the Karish Sigursion. So Chamboji and Yabuji is a Mijora. Koge, so Yabuji, Kadindi, Mademaje, Tile Lonjas along on the Bageto, Tile Lonjals, Lodups at the So Yabuji with Tile de Mache, Tile de Mademaje, so young Molojan with doing in the Chido, or teaching it, Lela Yoma, Kalakaway. Come out in the chicken to Kains and come to Laimua. At the need that. Kono malawache ta karine mena korai nyumutu rongitene yundevre ninje ta dindire ta karche orta kono langme ta korang ti chale de molam jijap sama sangbuche zobagom otushi samtang buri sungwa dire ta rangi yinwe lenji sim ning sim dance so practice patience and perseverance, practice equilibrium mind instead of being disappointed that he or she not revenging, but ungrateful for me, what I've done. But that's all right, and I just practice patience and I pray for him or her. I wish you all the best, just kind of basically let go. And, this is a good attitude. Okay. Okay. So now we go to verse 10. Verse 10. Lula mezo nata chungchi chungchi dowe lula naba chawayi lengen chonja rang kawai dan chonja mali rang lang. So this is now the will of sharp weapon to turn verse 10. And when our bodies are aching and racked with great torment of dreadful disease, we cannot endure. This is the wheel of sharp weapon turning, full circle upon us from wrongs we have done. Till now we have injured the bodies of others. Hereafter, let's take on what sickness is theirs. So lula da nasa yung nasa damade yung do. Ta yung inzani di kandis yung junse karasin da jawang leres lula nasa chung do lula no ba cha is tan do simjin shenda lula ni so jawang no ba jawa tigi ndibude. That mean then this one lengin sonjara ko is that sonjara that sonje pa you Machiavina, then Chugi deal laying the corner, Sonja to corner, Sosola, Machiavana, Yunguris, laying Sonja Quatan and Nasa Malurala. That indeed the social Nasa de Zogoya, the Narang Soy in Jana Teleta, Karshuta de Kumjaguresumor. Kumjagusota. Here, when our bodies are okay, yeah, I already read that one. We should now, so this is actually talking about, this is about Tonglen practice, beginning of Tonglen practice, famous Tonglen. I will leave it here. We should visualize that in the space in front of us sits our Guru and make this request to him. So what you do is here, you could visualize Guru Shakyamuni Buddha in front of you, or Lama Tsongkhapa, or your personal guru, whoever you visualize, and may all the disease of both others and myself repent. So then you request to the guru, but what is happening here is you visualize the guru as a kind of like a witness, okay? Shakyamuni Buddha, for example, and you say these words. Maybe all the disease of both others and myself ripen upon me as we breathe out from the out of the left nostril. We visualize beams of light radiating to all beings. As we breathe in through the right nostril, we inhale our suffering disease form of black smoke. The smoke vanished at the side of our own pain. Again, we breathe out from the left nostril, sending happiness in the form of light to all beings. So this is wonderful practice. That is Tungling said, Pa Jimadam, Chu Dene Zobagom. Now that Pa Jimadam said, Pa La said to Pa Tam, Chu Dene Pajogi Nasa the Chu Le, Tian Jur Casa Jurje. Then Payang was set down or to share it. Tandy she was showing a tumble in the Sumua getting out the Tambo Dilla Sosa Lama Go, Alama Sosa, Najaratoma Lama Yosha to go on degree, then Yangola Matango Chimogo degree. So said Lama the Lama to go Lama did a Bambosha or a tangible witness law or to share. Tene, you will go down that now Yomane Pa Uta. Here now Yomani Uta, we breathe in through the right nostril. No, first breathe out through the left nostril, right? So now Yomani Upata and Uti Yamdola, then Osakabaji Patri. There was a couple of Kasakalachi. They chin in Semjan Tamjela. Pembachi, the said so gave lawyer, Tigi Takaso, Nibasanam, Tigi Sapsanamanduti, or Sekawaji party. Semji Nangijo, Nasayum, Tadapena, Namulin Nasa Duja, the Nangimaware, Kundal Power, Sekawat Power. Chi, that the Mikangala genetic, me get a jiggle genetic, that me go, you come just at the Cheva, so Damwajet in Europe. Power was a part. Then now Yaban Tempacabla, any. Min Nasa Nangi Jorati Nasa de we as we breathe in through the nose, right nostril, Korange naza to the yung was in Naputila, no yambane to you, he toada in the yung, so the ninga to Chuichi. That is just as on the Chule at your naza that you was Chulente, Susunal level, lens hard and lamsa, never chap, the part, Tangmasu in it, ya now, Yombane, Karsota, was a couple of part. Tuene any Ossetigi young Condolatini, Karsota, Sem Dewa, the Chibo, Ludewa, Sem Dewa, Ludewa, the Jenny, Nasam Dewa, the Yapuchungs, Onyam, Mibanaya, that de la Tungles, or Tindi, Tandi, Shidag, Kachimbre, Gomjati, Sachimbo, Lau Mare, Kashi Shanachi Doa, Pajo Miganaza, Langan Nagri, some Senaji Mare. So what I'm saying here, what it says, you do Tungli. First, you breathe out through the left nostrils with the white light. Light goes out to all sentient beings or any particular person right now who's suffering and sick. You imagine someone that you love, someone you care, or someone you don't know, but the person is suffering. You send white light from the right, from left nostrils. And then light goes to that person, and then light gives the relief and for that person, makes the person feel a little bit calm and peaceful. Then you breathe in through the right nostrils. When you breathe in the right nostril, you imagine that person is suffering pain, whatever is going through. Breathe in the form of smoke and black clouds or smoke. Breathe in through the right nostrils to your heart. Now, don't get scared, and you're not going to get sick because your bodhicitta is powerful. You breathe in, and then automatically, right away, and it transformed into light again, white light again. And then you breathe out through the left nostril again, and you send and that white light to that person. So what happens is you breathe in his or her suffering through the right nostrils, transform into light. Okay, virtues, merit, medicine, herb, and healing modalities. And then you breathe out through the left nostrils and goes to that person. And then he or she feels good, feels nourished, feels supported, feel good, and boosting her immune system or weakness is restored, and virus, sickness is gone, and feel recovering, feel strong. So this is a wonderful practice. And if you do that, and we can do that right now. Okay, now it's time running out next week. When we start, we'll do Tonglen meditation. I will lead the Tonglen meditation. Please join me. And it is very good, because then what happens, right here, you are helping the other person. And also we are creating merit, good karma for us. It gives us opportunity to practice merit and good karma, and you are helping the other person. Same time, benefiting both ways. It's a win-win situation, a good situation, and it's a wonderful practice. It's a tonglen, Tibetan word, tonglen. Tong means you send love and compassion. Lung len means you taking the suffering. This is the most beautiful practice you can ever do. So you're not just sitting here, not doing anything. Some people say, oh, Buddhist people sitting on a nice cushion and they're not doing anything. And, we're doing a lot here. And this kind of meditation is very beneficial. Right now, social distancing, COVID time, we can't really do much. And physically running around, the governments and officials say, you shouldn't come, don't keep distance, social distance, right? And we have to do that. We should do that. And for the sake of everybody, wear mask when you're going out, and keep each other, respect each other's good health. But this is the practice we can do. It does not, you're not going to inhale the germ or virus. Okay, don't get scared. You might think, oh, I don't need to inhale other people's negativities. I got enough negativities myself. Don't think like that. Because your motivation is pure bodhicitta motivation, therefore nobody can harm you. This is why Kundalama Rinpoche said, When you listen by bodhicitta, it sounds beautiful. When you smell, it's beautiful. When you taste, it's good taste. It changes. 어떤데? 다들 동네에서 파 잔주 심공네 개왔다 어제다 와 파저들 뱀비치 우다고 연반에 와다로 아 나우 연반에 우주템에 가는 파저되게 낮아 동화서가 도와나보다 되니 드만나보든데 그 되니 소소 hingal레보다 람사 어제 가보지는 윤이양 파다 파저들 뱀비치 되니 제전에 티 동네고 동네 니보 벨마 장세 버게다 동네 니보 니데 벨마 장 in Tibetan what is it 동네 니보 means two 벨마 means you combine and take giving taking and combining take turns 벨마 장 it's a very powerful meditation so tindi inzanita su diba lemi yalda nga nasa chi yungu marwe pajoti nasa julene yang nga namyo nasa ngaral mangbo yo tindi goya mudlen goya yo marsan tindi samudang yo mar te chemina rang jinzirwa nasa yungu marwe susu semdi kunu yabu chewe janju sem gomba yezen nasa kande yungu tindi inza kunu lamara muji song songwa janju sem gwen num nangzis kasa shimsa tumashimbo janju sem sena shim janju sem nyena nye janju sem tanan zisungdo tindi janju sem nube ni jundu reso by the power of meditation of bodhicitta it transforms even the taste and smell and sound everything so you're not going to get sick and you will feel very strong and good feels I have done something today useful meaningful for the benefit of all sentient beings okay thank you very much and if you have any questions, few questions, we are already past the limit of time almost. We got a few questions.
There are a few questions here, Rinpoche.
Yeah.
So, Oya asks, Dear Rinpoche, thank you for this wonderful teaching. Is it self-cherishing to do Tonglen for oneself?
Tonglen for yourself?
Yes.
Not for other people?
Well, she's asking specifically, is it self-cherishing to do it for yourself? So,
well, see, this is a difficult question because Tonglen means you do practice for others, not just for yourself. Then you're almost like defeating the purpose. And you don't do Tonglen for yourself, you do Tonglen for others. If you do Tonglen for others, you are part of that. Then you're covered. You don't need to worry about it. So why you think about I do Tonglen for myself? You don't need to do Tonglen for yourself. You do for others and benefit, as I said, both ways.
Good, thank you. Joan Scott asks, can there be a certainty that we have purified a particular negative karma with our purification efforts? Is it a matter of confidence?
Yes, matter of confidence and matter of effort, a matter of devotion, matter of faith.
Doubt is the biggest enemy, as you say.
Yeah, doubt is the problem.
Yeah. Feel confident. Amanda asks, thanks for the teaching today. The Wheel of Sharp Weapons is a very vivid image to help with this practice. How do we imagine this wheel? Is it a wheel made of swords flying in the air?
Well, no, you don't have to visualize. Don't visualize wheel turning around, flying around in the air. This is just an analogy, example, Wheel of Sharp Weapons. Look, it's a karmic wheel and turning around to us. It's like a boomerang. Yeah, you think about boomerang being an Aussie, and boomerang is not a sharp. I don't think so, unless they have a sharp one.
Right.
And not like a ninja weapons. And actually, it's not really physical wheel turning around. It's more analogy. You don't have to visualize physical weapon. Should not visualize. Don't have to visualize.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, just wait and see if anybody else has questions here. Many thanks, many thanks. One question I was wondering is, I've heard it said that if you practice so much, or being in that state of generosity, compassion, and just being in that bodhicitta, when negative karmic seeds come about, there's no ground for them to actually ripen on.
Mhm.
So 2 things about that is, could you talk a little bit about karmic seeds, and what do you think about that statement?
If you always constantly meditating on bodhicitta, loving kindness, and then yes, then your mental defilement, self-cherishing, the self-centered mind is slowly weaken, diminish. So then opportunity arising negative thoughts and delusions will be less and less always.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean your previous karma, result of previous karma, is not going to ripe. It is possible. Previous karma can ripe. Even the highly realized bodhisattvas. You heard about story about Nagarjuna, what happened, how Nagarjuna died. And there's one little karma left. And so it can happen. But doesn't mean, but Nagarjuna is he's enlightened one. He's bodhisattva, highest, enlightened one. So, it's the end of the life anyways. He lived so many years, so long. So, whatever challenge there, you just accept as it is, and it will help you advance your bodhicitta.
So I guess what you're saying is, even though we have our past karma coming, those karmic seeds coming back to us, our mind determines what they're going to do, whether they're going to ripen as something we're going to have a defilement about, or whether we're just going to acknowledge them and they'll be gone, or we'll transform them into something positive.
Yeah, as long if there is enough space and time,
Mm-hmm.
you can transform,
Mm-hmm.
purify.
Mm-hmm.
If there is no time and space, and then you have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not because you have so much strong mind, bodhicitta, loving kindness. You're doing Tonglen practice, Lojong practice, and it'd be much easier to cope.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be so difficult.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, let's see if anybody's asked anything in the meantime. Thank you. That's about it, Ruby.
All right, so that's good.
Wonderful.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, and see you next Sunday.